Thanks, Katie, for that weather hit. And every once in a while, the stars align, and I get to chat with Ryan Schreiber, and I'm fortunate enough to have him joining us here this morning. Ryan Schreiber from Metaphor, thanks so much for being here and joining us this morning.
Hey, buddy, I think actually last month you had me too, so you're welcome, I guess.
Well, like I said, the stars align. Maybe it's just like a once a month
Yeah.
thing potentially, but Ryan, we have to talk about something that's really crucial right now, and that's training. And this training of employees is going to be even more crucial because there's all this talks of course, market downturn, recessionary fears, all these other things. And this is going to be one of those areas where a lot of people just kind of overlook and just forget about.
Yeah. I think like training is something I'm super passionate about. I think that it is probably the most important thing you can do for your business, whether your business is booming or busting. And, the biggest thing for me is employee experience. Certainly, like I think that, from what we see, employees are retained better. They have a better experience, and then that translates to your customer and carrier experience or driver experience, depending on how your operating model is. That is the biggest thing for training. So you retain your customers, et cetera. But from a purely financial perspective, especially as you pointed out, whether if we're going into a downturn, but even when things are booming, the ramp on trained employees is significantly steeper, right? So you are getting, if you are not effectively training your people, you are hiring more people than you need to get the same stuff done. And where people focus on technology to solve that problem, we need automation to solve that problem. Training is the overlooked piece in that if you train your people, you don't need as many of them to get the job done. And whether that's sales or operations, whichever part of your business. So it's incredibly important, Anthony, as you said.
Ryan, welcome to the show first off. And I get to talk to him every month, every time he's on. So I don't know about feeling lucky. But no, I'm kidding. We're always lucky to have you guys on for Metaphor, Ryan. You guys do a great job with us, as always. But
I know.
I love this conversation because I think that in a lot of my job experience life, whether that's a minimum wage job or some of the corporate jobs that I've walked into, sometimes you have to beg for that training as an employee, right? And you have to say, you know what, I'm not getting enough help and I feel like I don't know as much as I should, and I could be more successful if I was trained a little bit better. And as an employee, it's also that onus is on you to ask for that help and ask for that feedback, right? So as a manager, how can you be kind of open and tell your employees that you have this kind of open door policy to let them ask for feedback and let them ask for more training if they feel like they need it?
It starts with there's no secret like elixir here, right? What you have to do is walk the talk. And so when somebody comes to you, you have to show them, just like with anything else, you have to show them that you are taking their taking their impact input seriously, and not try and convince them that like the training you have is okay or that they have been trained on this or whatever it is. You have to really like truly listen and hear folks, and then you have to challenge the way you're thinking about things. Listen, there are a lot of business realities that go along with the impacts of training, right? Like it can be time consuming. It can require resources to do. Now, we at Metaphora know that there are better ways to do it than it's being done right now. And certainly like we'll talk about that more in the future. But the biggest thing that we hear companies say all the time is that we can't afford the time and resources to train our people. And that's just not true. Training can be done significantly better. And if you come in with that mindset, you're going to, when your employees do come to you, you're not going to walk that talk, and then they're going to stop coming to you. And you're going to wonder why. Well, I tell them I have an open door policy, but it's just, they're shouting into the void. So that's really the number one key, is walking the talk.
And Ryan, can you dig a little bit deeper on an earlier point you made? I think it was a really great one. We got to hone in on it, and that's really being able to train up people for positions instead of hiring for them, because sometimes I've seen it happen before where some companies look to hire someone for a managerial role or something like that, but they have someone internally that's more than capable of doing it if they just receive some of the right training.
Listen, like Anthony, first of all, I appreciate you saying it was a great point. All my points are great points. So like, I feel like it's at the expense of, I think it's at the expense of another one. But what I would say is, that somebody was just trying to talk to me in the airport here as we were talking about this. You asked me, can you repeat what you asked me really quickly?
Of course. And Ryan, I think some of your points are great. And
I was trying to stall to remember.
And then the other ones are just excellent. But when we're looking at being able to hire internally, promote internally.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, everyone should get manager training. Everybody should get manager training, whether they're going to be a manager or not, because it's the soft skills that go along with that training that are going to make them better, more effective. Again, at dealing with the other folks in the office, right? Their colleagues, but also customers, carriers, drivers, shippers, whatever it might be. And manager training specifically is one of the ones where we just quote unquote don't have time for it. And it is costing you money in ways that you don't see, exactly like you just highlighted, Anthony. Either you are going to overpay to get somebody in who may or may not be effective from the outside, right? There's risk associated with that. And you're going to churn your employees by either not having career development and path for them, or because everyone in this industry who's ever been a manager has not gotten that training. And we've had to figure it out as we go. And I can tell you, I was a terrible manager when I started. If you ask people now, I'm still probably a terrible manager, but I was even worse then. And it was all around the fact that I just didn't know how to do it. I relied on some sort of like natural skills that I had, and those skills failed me. And so there are so many ways. I got in trouble for saying myriad too many times last week, so I'm not going to say myriad this time. There are so many different ways in which it's costing you money, and you can't afford to not do it. And manager training is a perfect example.
So Ryan, when you're talking about manager training and that higher up level training, sometimes it's hard to do that internally and inside your company because maybe the experts that you're trying to train are those ones that are at the top level. When do you know that it's time to look outwards and source maybe some people to train your trainers and to look at that outside help to get people leveled up to their top potential?
There are a lot of different options today to get your people trained or to deliver training to your people, even to the extent that it's entirely internally driven. There's a better way to lower the management burden on training. And like that's like looking into something like an LMS. We've seen a trend in the industry of some of our clients looking into delivering some of their training in an LMS. You have to do some of that in moderation. If you don't pair that with some individual connections, like you're just going to alienate your people. You're not going to give them that experience of integrating them into your business. So whether you're doing it yourself or you're looking outside, there are ways to lower the management burden of training. And some of that is preparing your people to be trained. Some of that is giving that administering that training in a creative way, and then pairing that with other things like activities, simulations, shadowing. But you've got to do it in a way that allows those people to get the information they need instead of dumping everything all on top of them. So preparing the people who are the trainers, as you just said, is another really important step in that. And that can be done in ways that also help reinforce the training that you want them to have. So it's really, training is a comprehensive approach to your business and really like lifting up your labor force in aggregate at every level of your organization.
Excellent, Ryan. Well, this is definitely a huge issue that I think a lot more people should be talking about. Thanks so much for joining us this morning and talking on it.
Hey, thanks for having me again, guys. Good to see y'all.
And then we heard that you were in an airport, so safe flight, Ryan, there. And of course, we'll have some more folks on from Metaphor coming up in later weeks here on FreightWaves Now. Right now, we're going to head over to Isaiah Buchanan for a look at what is trending on social media.